laws that ask for you. And we're back. Hey, whoa! Getting a little bit unhinged this morning with my Streamlabs over there. Looks like we had some unexpected visitors in the form of memes coming on at the beginning of this video. But you know what? Plenty of things to talk about. Picking up from where we left off last week, Bitcoin did hit below 60,000 bucks. Very important because always on this downside move, we have to be open to a nice wick below 60,000 bucks. And I think that we actually still might have another one or two. But with Bitcoin crawling back above 60,000 bucks before the end of the weekly closure is important information. And I still am looking at this as first and foremost the next likely macro low. I mean, that is my personal opinion. Of course, we do have a major low in, and we'll go over the reasons why. But in the very, very short term, Bitcoin on this rally, while it's already been about 10% to the upside from the $58,000 low, I do think that you're going to find a little bit of give and go. I don't really expect all that much, more or less, to the upside. We'll go over essentially what is the maximum sort of target for this rally, like, I guess, full on hopium, if you will, as well as more or less what to expect next. Of course, we also got traditional marks bouncing off of that 73.50 target that we were looking at on SPY over here. The real question is, does this one want to go lower after this bounce plays out? Still looking for it to go a little bit higher, closer to at least hitting about 7,500 bucks. But ultimately, I am still not necessarily looking for major tops on these markets, that being traditional marks right here. Still, this to me is a pullback that is likely to get some more opportunities for new all-time highs into the summer, and it's really around Q4, or at least when Q4 begins of this year in about September/October, where I start to be a little bit more, concerned with this market actually putting in a major, maybe even a macro top. Anyways, a lot of familiar faces in here. What's up, Mr. Caretaker? Good to fucking see you. Always good to see Caretaker. You know it's a big day when Caretaker's around. What's up, Mr. Dolphin? Been a while. Areeb, Scarns. Who else we got? T. Wallison. Actually, I like all these Japanese characters here, and it's kind of funny because your message says it got translated to Krown soup, but then when I scroll over it says sub Krown. Very cool. What's up, Farleon? Good morning to you, man. Norco, been a while as well, man. CME closed weekly below 200 moving average. Let's see. First off, is that true? And second off, by how much? Because that probably doesn't matter. Yeah, it did close below. More importantly, it did not close below the wick low of the not September, but February dump right here. So do I look at that as more or less broken? No, this is structural in this case. And as long as Bitcoin's more or less closing above that February low, that is what you expect for a range low. We can get wicks below. That's completely fine. Just don't want to see closures below. That is what opens up the floodgates for another, I would say, 10% move to the downside, at least to about 54,000 bucks. Still, my personal opinion is that Bitcoin's going to fight it off right here. And even if you're the biggest bear, I wouldn't be looking for continuation to the downside. Be getting like any major continuation anytime soon. Have to let this move kind of play out for a bounce because there are a lot of extreme conditions being worked off as of right now. And this is kind of where, I see a lot of people get stuck, and I definitely have had these sort of issues myself in the past. And that is, you could be right on direction. I mean, it is overall downtrend. Pretty much any time frame that we look at, that actually matters for the dominant trend. But in terms of timing these moves, this is, in my opinion, this is just not the fucking time. And we'll go over why during the actual video. But first, I want to see who else we got in here. Champ Blue, good morning to you, man. It's been a long time. Fuck yeah, man. Batmanny as well. Yarbrook, we got a lot of old OGs in the house, which I absolutely love to see. T Knight as well. Fuck yeah, man. ByBit 1 week closed below that prior week low. Thoughts? Check it out as well. I actually do not care about ByBit more than CME at this moment, just because history, we really still have a very major lack of history over here. And as it stands right now, I mean, with this one opening back up above that wick low, I'm not concerned about this one either. And again, I would say the same thing here. It's like you're very likely going to play out a bounce to the upside first before anything else. Even if you're the biggest bear, I don't think it's wise to be looking for like straight down from this exact moment. You're probably looking for a little bit of sideways price action right here. You can also see it on the volume signature as well. Volume is tailing off as price action moves to the downside. So you are starting to see divergences here, probably more appropriately seen on CME, as you can see right there. And same thing on spot price action. But ultimately, I do think it's going to be too early for any side, whether you're bull or bear, really to be declaring victory right now. I don't think that certainly, at least I cannot say that we have any major lows confirmed, and it's up only from here. In fact, look, in the most bullish of scenarios, I don't think Bitcoin gets even past like 69,000 bucks anytime soon. That's going to be a big wall to the upside and to the downside, basically last week's low, again, on a closing basis. I would, a perfect scenario, which would make me a lot more confident for calling a macro low, would be another like major washout to the downside, like big wick down, deep into $50,000. Let's say like at least 55,000, somewhere between 55 to 50, and then running the weekly back up before the closure back above 60,000 bucks. That would be pretty amazing and pretty obvious to me for declaring a macro low, kind of similar to what you saw over here in August of 2024. But of course, that is just a hypothetical situation right now because obviously we do not have that at the current moment. Anyways, a quick announcement for the shorter term traders out there in the world, or I mean, you can also do this for a longer term as well. But I have been courted. I've been courted for an actual sponsorship for the first time ever. In fact, I think I got two coming up right here. One of them is a major one that I'm really excited about. Coinbase, which is going to be offering up Bitcoin options, and they also already have perps as well. But that is going to be the ideal thing that I'm looking for because, goddamn, man, I want options on the same exchange that I trade spot underline on with futures so I can hedge that way. Don't need to keep multiple accounts, one account on Interactive Brokers, another one, somewhere else to hedge on whatever the fuck, they actually work with. And then I can have everything in the same place, portfolio margin. Oh man, we're going to be making fucking money, baby. Fucking money. But until then, still need to wait for them to come out with it because I am told by my representatives there that it's coming actually this summer, sooner rather than later. They already obviously have perps out for Bitcoin, but what we really need is options to make that work incredibly well. So you hear me talk about Coinbase a lot in the upcoming months, I suspect, but still waiting for them to actually roll that out, and then we'll start to talk about that, and we can actually show some positions right there. Because why? Because we have now a regulated exchange. All is well and good. No more, hiding around the bush and all this bullshit. We can actually do everything out in the open, which is really exciting. At least for me, man. At least for me. Bitcoin options on Coin will be great. When? I'm told very soon. Before I was being told in like October/November of this year, and then I got another message last week saying, hey, no, actually we're going to update this and we're going to push this early in summer. So I'm extremely excited about this, assuming everything works all well. And of course, Coinbase acquired Deribit recently. I mean, not recently, but in the past year or two. And Deribit still has the most liquidity when it comes to Bitcoin options by a good margin. I mean, shit, when we compare to ByBit, for example, it's got like 10x, maybe more than 10x, maybe closer to 20x the amount of liquidity, for major option expirations. So that is massive, absolutely fucking massive. So it seems like Deribit actually still a major player in the game. John, dude, good morning to you as well, man. Kicks Profit says, wasn't this deep and quick enough? No, no, that would not be obviously deep and quick enough to me. Look, even if you're the biggest bull, you really should be expecting Bitcoin to once again retest somewhere around those lows, maybe even slightly lower, of course, as well. But I would say it would be extremely unrealistic to expect this to just rally straight back up to like fucking 90,000 bucks from here. Again, everything has a non-zero probability, but I would say that this one's very close to zero. What I would be looking for is, the rally to maybe extend a little bit more, come back down, retest that low, make everyone fucking puke themselves, put in hopefully a higher low, and then run it. That would be the ideal situation as well. That would look a lot more obvious to me. But in its current format, no, this is very, I would say that this is extremely unrealistic to expect that, what we saw last Friday is absolutely going to be the low, and it's just up only from here. No, I think that that's very unrealistic. Both sides are going to get tested on this move right now. Obviously, late shorters are going to get tested, which there are many apparently. But I don't think it's going to be a runaway rally. I don't think that we're going to get anything like that. Like I said, best, absolute fucking best case scenario on this rally, which I don't even think is going to happen anyways, would be 69,000 bucks to the upside. But Bitcoin could trade more to the upside from here. Anyways, let's actually get into the actual analysis of the day. Oh, I got a good question over here. Sequoia says, is Coin offering stock trading yet as well? I think they are, and if they aren't, then they are definitely having it on their menu. Stocks are back on the menu, baby. Fuck yeah, man. Oh, that makes me so excited. I'll be able to do everything right there. That'll be so fucking cool. Probably won't migrate like my main traditional accounts over there. I mean, there's just really no reason to. But definitely for crypto, I mean, that is going to instantly become the best place, at least as far as I'm concerned. Especially if you want to trade options. I mean, shit, what other better options do you have? I don't think that there is one. But yeah, man, really excited for that. Sam Fergozzi, what's up, man? Big question. Do you care about wickless candles getting retested? You mean like test? Well, yes, not really. I understand where you're coming from. This is a price action trading concept that I'm familiar with. But as far as me, do I care about it? Not really. Not really. I think a lot of that stuff is overblown. And a lot of it is, there's a lot of hindsight analysis that goes on there. That's kind of the thing, man, with a lot of fucking, styles, is a lot of it's just fucking hindsight. And it makes newer people think that they're fucking geniuses because they're able to tell you what happened in the past. They give you a reason for everything. And ultimately, there's no way that they could ever prove that reason. Like, I always see this. It's like, bro, did you know there's liquidity at $50,000? So I read online that liquidity must be sweet, or whatever the fuck they say. That's a buzzword that means very little and really just equates to what they probably are meaning to say, which is a support level, which I even have issues with saying that as well. Anyways, my point is that a lot of it is just telling stories on price action. The more that you tell a story on price action, the more that you inherently must be wrong, because there is no story to tell. There's only buying and selling. There's only what the price is. Anything on top of that is just fucking bullshit that people are making up to sound smart. And it does sound smart, honestly, especially when you're talking in hindsight analysis. But ultimately, it has no predictive capabilities. And it is, it's the same repackaging of ancient concepts. And usually people are selling it as well. So it's just like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. And move on. Fuck you and move on. How about that? Hey, soundboard. Oh, well, hold on. No, we've done it.
How's that ass feel?
Yeah, how's that ass feel? How's that ass feel? Anyways, I was watching Always Sunny last night. I was hanging out with my dad last night. He was having a migraine headache. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to inquire if you'd like to try a THC gummy, in which he actually did. And he had a really good time, I think. It was like one of the most relaxed I've seen him in, God, it's got to be like decades. That's like the most relaxed I've seen him. He was just sitting down. He was sitting down and thinking. I'm like, it's definitely working. That's how you know. Sitting down in a single place, thinking for like 20 minutes at a time, and then lifting up your head and then going back into deep thought. I love it, man. I fucking love it. Self-reflection, always a good thing. Anyways, let's talk about some Bitcoins over here. I got some notes out and flying around, but I do want to structure this a bit better than what I already have. So first things first, Bitcoin coming off the 200 simple right there. A lot of people are going to be watching that, obviously. I don't think closing necessarily below it means all that much. Closing below the February lows is what does mean something. But there should be an acknowledgement of the developing divergence on the weekly time frame, which, again, is this confirmed right now? No. Even if you're the biggest bull, I would not be expecting up only from here. I think that this rally has I think it has a terminal point and also a terminal time for it. But naturally, with those lows of February, it's going to be very easy to create divergence on this move, whether it comes from, maybe one more test down towards the current low, or even slightly lower than that, maybe even closing and resting right at that $59,000 pivot. That would be okay, and you would still have that divergence in play right there. But for right now, there is no stop and go point. There is no confirmed local low. And that's honestly just going to take, at minimum, another week at best to confirm itself, because you need to, stop right here, pop back above that high. And even then, that would be a pretty weak low. So ultimately, it's probably going to take most of this month, if I had to guess, most of the month of June, if it is going to formulate a low here. And at that point, I'd expect to see some sort of divergence really forming on the weekly RSI, of which we do have the potential for it right now. It's just not confirmed, nothing like that, until we see a confirmed local low. At that point, you're probably in for a potential runaway rally, but at least a decent rally, probably back up to the top side of this range, which is going to be more or less like 69 to 70,000 bucks. Until then, on the short term, I do want to remind myself that following the Reverend Ribbons right here, I do have to remain with a short-term and medium-term bearish buys. As long as Bitcoin is below the Reverend Ribbons midband, which is 71,000 bucks right now, that's going to crawl down, I imagine, to about 69,000 bucks by the end of this week. And as long as Bitcoin's below there, I do have to treat the short and medium term as bearish, despite this rally. And the rally probably does carry on for a little bit more. But the overall trend is more importantly bearish. And this is kind of our first snapback rally that we've seen since, middle of May. So more than a month, or was that more than a month ago? No, about a little bit under a month ago right now. On this whole, basically this whole move was led down by that first break. So I'd be looking for a return to that mid band at some point in the next week or two. And it's very likely, almost guaranteed, to be a rejection on the first pass. What happens on the second pass, or especially the third pass, that becomes a lot less, a lot less obvious. But certainly on the next pass, I would be looking for rejection if and when it does get there. And at some point, it will get there. It's just, what sort of path does it take? Does it go straight up from here? Probably unlikely. Does it maybe go up a little bit more towards 66, pop back down, scare the shit out of everyone, put in a slightly higher low, and then do it? Probably more likely. Does it maybe spend a lot of time at that low and really drag that into it and then test it when it's much lower and then move down? Also likely as well, I suppose, but I'd be probably going with the Goldilocks of those situations, at least for right now. As it stands, like I said, as long as you're below that, have to be bearish, at least for me. That's what you're going to hear me repeat on this channel. It's the same rules, the same system that we've been following this whole fucking time. And also we can see a sort of interim target if this rally wants to continue in the short term towards these gray dots right here in the upper lower band. I don't really have a better way of referencing this band right here, but that's what I mean. And again, if and when Bitcoin gets around there, I would be expecting another pushback on the first pass. Second pass can push through, obviously, but first pass almost always going to get a pullback around these sort of major pivots. So these dotted lines within the bands, always a good area, as well as just the actual bands themselves. First pass is almost always a scalpable move, to be fair. And when I say scalpable, not like fucking hold that move for forever. It's like an intra-bar thing, in and out relatively quickly. There is some edge on those, to be fair. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to go over the lower term, let's go over the lower term timeframes, because even in the short term, I do think that this rally probably gets arrested kind of where it's at right now, honestly, at 64, maybe 65,000 bucks. Why is that? Because we do see the potential for hidden bearish divergence as the 4-hour RSI is well above the highs that we saw from the 30th of May when Bitcoin was trading all the way at 74,000 bucks, which is, super fucking far away right now. 6-hour time frame, same thing here as well. We can see decently higher highs and those same May highs, and that goes even all the way up to the 12-hour time frame, which is actually no, it is not. I don't know why I had that written down incorrectly in my notes, but no, it is actually not above those May highs you said. So the divergence does go all the way up to the 6-hour time frame. So again, rally could easily get arrested here, come back down to like 60,000 bucks, spike there, and then bounce. If you get one more, if you do get one more, drive of continuation here in the short term, we do see that there actually is a setup on the 12-hour time frame for bullish divergence right here between this low and this low from Wednesday and Friday of last week. And generally, my target is going to be the 21 EMA. So anywhere between 64 to 66,000 bucks is where I'm looking for on a realistic top of this rally. I could very easily see it already kind of topping on this rally and coming back down. But basically what I'm trying to say is, look, even if you're the biggest bull, I do think it is wildly unrealistic to look for price action to rally back up past 70,000 bucks in the short term. And more importantly, we're very likely to get at least one more try down around 60,000 bucks, maybe even below 60,000 bucks, in the next week or two. I'd be expecting both things. And ultimately what I want to see is I want to see both sides of that equation rejected. I want to see the upside rejected. I want to see the downside rejected. If Bitcoin, the more time that Bitcoin spends, kind of spinning its wheels around these regions, the more and more likely that actually is putting in a major and perhaps even a macro low in these areas. Remember, the LTI did fire off strong buy signals on these lows in the exact same way that we have seen on previous macro lows. That first strong buy signal about 20% away on a closing price action area from the actual low. We can see the same thing over here, same thing in 2022, same thing in 2018, same thing in 2014. I won't go through all of these or all of the reasons why I am looking at this area as a potential major macro low. That is all, by the way, in last week's video. I think we did a big breakdown on Thursday it was, or maybe it was Tuesday, but yeah, it's somewhere there for you. And yes, that is among one of the better reasons, I would say. On top of all of this, we can go over to, yes, the stochastic momentum oscillator right here. Again, daily time frame, probably done going down for now as far as, making new lows. We are starting to see that flip back up right here as long as Bitcoin's above 59,400. So, a lot of the times you will see those momentum pivots act as areas of support if and when Bitcoin gets down around there. So I would be cognizant that if Bitcoin does pull back, 59.5 is kind of an area of interest. And I would be looking for a bounce there, at least on the first pass as well. Then we go to the 2-day time frame. The 2-day time frame is going to have a chance to freshly cross up. I think it's today, actually. Sorry, no, not today, but tomorrow. And it will if Bitcoin finishes tomorrow above 61,900. The 3-day time frame also getting deep inside that bearish critical zone, but not turning up anytime soon. This one pivoted at 71,950. Now I'm closing tonight. So that realistically should flip around quite a fair bit. in terms of the pivot, it should probably come down to like very low 60s, I would imagine, actually. And then when we go to the 5-day time frame, still healthily to the downside. 8-day time frame, still actually freshly crossed to the downside. The weekly time frame we already know is down, and the 10-day time frame I think is freshly trending down as well. Indeed, it is. So again, even if you're bullish, I would absolutely not be expecting any sort of major flip around right here. It's not going to be a V bottom, extremely unlikely. The best way that this thing can bottom is just by going sideways, probably for another month or two at these June lows. That's what I'd expect if I am going to be bullish off of these lows. Until then, yes, there is still risk to the downside, and the risk to the downside is actually greater than the risk to the upside in the more medium term, I would say. On top of all this, also to add on to this, the HPDR over here, we can see Bitcoin bouncing up the 786 level. And also we can see weekly volatility kind of spiking up. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this because there is a pretty uniform response when volatility on the BBWP indicator for CME on the weekly gets above about 90 percentile. So I'm going to mark off the 90 percentile read right here and specifically speak to downtrends. And I'm just going to mark off the previous stints into this region. Let's perhaps measure for when the volatility actually spiked into that region and then got its first downwards tick. So for here, it would be right there. For here, it would be right here. Let's move on a little bit more. This one is during an uptrend, so we won't acknowledge that one. This one also during an uptrend, so we won't acknowledge that one. This one over here, actually that one, I don't know, I'll mark it off, but I'm not exactly sure. This one over here from 2022 bear mark, so yes, definitely relevant as well. Very close, I would say too. We could probably even move this bar a little bit further south to 85. It's gonna be the same shit anyways. And then we can go over here. This is June 2021, so that was around the summer lows during that. So we'll look at the past, I guess this takes us to the past 4 years or 5 years now. And as you can see, when volatility spiked into this region, or sorry, when volatility spiked above that level and then got its first downwards tick, was the low in over here? Yeah, in terms of a wick basis, in terms of a close over wick basis, meaning that this wick to the downside in May 2021 was not closed below ever. I mean, not ever again, but throughout this whole consolidation before a major reversal back to the upside. Then we have this one over here in July of 2022. Again, first tick to the downside, low was in, boom, nice rally. Yes, it did go lower over time, but you got a nice rally from there. And then of course, this one over here, this actually was not during a downtrend, so we will ignore that one, although it kind of works similarly to the upside as well. And then from there, we have the more recent ones in November of 2025, boom, again, low was already in. Once you saw that turn down on that first tick, and then you get a nice rally in this case, going from about 80,000 all the way up to 95, 96,000. And then more recently in February, we saw the same thing as well right here. The low was already in, then we got the downturn in volatility, and then you got a nice big rally over here. So right now, we do not have a downturn or a downtick on volatility. It is going to be very interesting to see what this week does. If it starts to turn down, that would also make me very confident for this one to spend a lot more time trying to bounce this region. Again, it's going to be one puzzle piece after another, more or less, in terms of declaring this a potential macro low. It is absolutely not there right now. Again, I don't want to be misheard on this. Well, it's inevitable that I'll be misheard. But for the non-lobotomized people out there, for the people who actually happen to give a fuck, those people I'd like to make clear, yes, cannot say that right now. It's just a potential that has not been invalidated as of this moment. So again, for me, as a long-term investor, putting in my long-term investor hat, I did buy low 60s. I bought low 60s. I bought a lot between 65 and about 59, and I'll probably buy some more if it spends another couple weeks in this region. As far as trading positions that I have, my short calls from the end of June are basically worthless at this moment. So I'll probably just buy them back. We're going to be able to lock in the maximum profit of about $39,000. I think last I saw them trading for it was like $20 a contract. So at this point, yeah, I'll give up like what, $600 in order to pull that position in and not have to worry about it and free up that equity once again. That's kind of what I'm looking at right there. Again, just kind of another boring options positions. And I'll tell you the next position, there are two other positions that I'd like to consider taking. I would say within the next month. One is on any rally to 68, 69,000 bucks. I would love to sell a call spread between like 70 to 72. And on any sort of if Bitcoin spends another like week or two kind of grinding out this $60,000 level, I will sell a put spread probably between about 58 to 56. More or less. Now, again, these are still a little bit further in the future, and I really need to see, well, first off, I really need to see, especially for that put spread, like if Bitcoin can hold in this region during that time. That's when I feel very, very confident to that. To the upside, I just need to see a spike up, 66, 67, 68, anywhere around there. I'll be happy to sell that call spread. But until then, I ain't doing much. I'm just going to let the market come to me. And just another reminder that, look, you don't always need to be in a fucking trade in order to make a shit ton of money. We've had a lot of options trades on this channel since I started showing them again, since I guess this was like maybe 6 months ago now. Patience is the name of the game. And right now, right here, there is no obvious setup to me that is going to have a high probability of making good amounts of money. Could short the put side over here. At around 59,000 bucks, and also just take a short position, against that if it does get, if price starts to work its way down below there. But in the interim, like there is too much fuckery that can happen in the interim. So I really want to let like another week or two transpire before I consider that put side of things. Until then, I'll be sitting back and relaxing. And did I already forget to mention the long-term investor free course is now available. It's, as the name would imply, free. And there is a link to it actually in the pinned message on the chats right here. Actually can't highlight it myself, but you know where it is on the chats. There is a pinned message on the chats if you're looking to get into that. It is basically the sort of overall framework that I do my long-term investing from, and then I basically give you all of the sort of cookie cutter stuff, and you can go ahead and fill it out however you like. It's all free, as as have been like the last 3 or 4 courses that I've released. Like I said, man, I just want to blow out people's fucking paid content with my free content. That's the ego speaking. Also on the note of this rally inevitably failing, but also kind of, some somewhat good news as well, is funding rates are still positive actually. Now they did turn very briefly negative on last Friday, and they have been trending down since about a week ago. But still, we want to see this really spike negative before it becomes a little bit more obvious that like Bitcoin, really probably is putting in a low. But for right now, positive rates. I don't think that this rally is going to be running away, in any significant manner to the upside here. This is going to be a range-bound market at best, especially for the BULAs in the short and medium term. Bears, they do have the ball in their court, and like I said, have to respect the downside as long as below the Reverend Ribbons midband. Oh man, I fucking love that indicator. Let's see, is the weekly saying anything right here? Yeah, the weekly also bouncing off of the dots in the bottom bands. And in fact, we could look at the range between these dots right here that my cursor is on, and also the top side of the bottom band. Again, I just don't have a better way of explaining these bands right here. But that would be about 66,000 bucks. So what do I think is the best case scenario this week? Personally, 66,000 bucks to the upside. Is about where I'd be looking for on Bitcoin. I'd be looking for Bitcoin to almost absolutely be pushed back if it got somewhere around there, or really anywhere around there, to be fair. Anyways, I'll get onto the super chats over here. Let's see what we got going on. We got 1236N. He says, Iron, is this the bottom or bounce before lower? Let's see. It is definitely a bounce, and you still have higher lows here on the daily. It depends what time frame you're looking at, man. If you're on a daily, it's not necessarily bearish. On a weekly, it's not bearish as well. I could easily see a return back to like 49.5 bucks. That would be a little bit more obvious to me, and in forming a major higher low. But for right now, daily time frame is very likely going to try a rally here. I don't think it's going to run away, but it could very easy rally back up to like 63.5. Sorry, did I say 59 to the downside? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Hold on. Sorry, whoa. God. 49.5 to $50 would be like the sort of corrective target if it wants to drop down for another higher low. But yeah, daily time frame very likely rallies a little bit more from here. I would be looking at like 63, 64 bucks, and probably rejection right there, with the weekly likely to put in a higher low, a little bit lower than where it's at right now. I would I would relent on that belief and say, hey, the higher low is already in if you see the weekly close above 65. 63, 63.60, 63.60, 63.60, 63.60. If it can do that on a weekly time frame, then I'll say, no, this thing is ready to go to the upside. Until then, I'll still be respectful of a little bit more of a correction to the downside. Again, I really want to see a higher low on a weekly here first, which we don't have. The last low was March lows right here, and that is obviously a lower low compared to the December lows right here. So I'd want to see some, personally, a little bit more uniform, a little more obvious. So that's why I'd still keep open the door for a correction slightly lower towards 50 bucks. I guess it's not slightly lower. That's like a 15% move right there. Anyways, let me take a sip of this water. Then we'll get to Mr. Stephen Schickman. He's looking at GLL. If GLL is the inverse gold, then I think I'm still bullish on this, as I'm still bearish on gold. Oh yeah, it's already gotten up to 23, 24 bucks. Still think that this one moves a little bit higher towards 25, 26, but yeah, you're starting to see this move really populate here. Again, just easier to look at gold. This one's very likely coming down. If we fast forward, 6 months from now, you're probably going to see like a 38, 3,900 read at some point. In the short term, does it try a bounce? Probably yes. Probably yes. But similar to Bitcoin, I think it gets arrested, quite abruptly. I mean, I would have a hard time seeing this bounce getting anywhere past like 44.40 or 44.50 on this move. So for your GLL, I guess that would, if we go back to the weekly over here, I guess, yeah, maybe it pops back down to like 22.5 bucks and then tries to rally, perhaps something like that. But yeah, it's, still, I think that you have more upside, but in the short term, you probably have a little bit of downside on this thing, as does gold have some upside. Then again, I look at the daily and I mean, look, the important thing is it's going higher. It's going higher. If you got to pull back in the short term, well, that's what I'd be looking for. Zeta Global, all right. Just need to do the ticker, by the way, but I guess it helps too. Anyways, Zeta Global, not as obviously bullish as the last one, but this one is forming a nice consolidation range. And I do think that it actually will break out to the upside given enough time here. It's the same chart as before, more or less. I do like the higher lows that you see right here, 1, 2, 3, and even 4. And while it did reject the range highs yet again, I love this sort of setup because you got higher lows with same highs. What is that? In the ascending triangle, you basically have the formation of an uptrend reversal here. It is not confirmed just yet, and probably in the short term, you do have a little bit of downside. If it pops back down to like 20.5, 20, 60, or 20 spot 60 bucks, that's fine. That would be a nice higher low on the daily. And then I'd be very happy to call an actual upside reversal confirmed and validated on any sort of a weekly closure above about 24.85. If you can do that, this thing's going to retest all-time highs, probably make new highs, yada, yada. You already know where it's going. It's going to be pretty good. But in the short term, I'd be respectful of a little bit of short-term downside. For this thing. 1236N says Rigetti, good bounce off a retest of previous highs. Good place to enter for daily swing with invalidation below 20. I don't know. I mean, that always depends on your risk tolerance, right? On your previous high, okay, maybe you're on a different time frame. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're seeing here. Is that a setup that I'd take? I mean, I don't necessarily. This chart isn't terrible, but it's also not the most obviously bullish one to me, so I wouldn't care really to play this one myself. But do I think that things are going to bounce here? Yeah. But look, if your stop loss is 20 bucks or yeah, basically 20 bucks, that's more than a 10% move from where you're at right now. So to me, that's kind of like high risk for not amazing reward, because I think best case scenario for this one in the short/medium term is it pops back up towards this range high here at like 26, 27, 28 bucks. I don't think it's going to break out anytime soon. I think that this thing is going to be range bound for a while, and then it'll try its like breakout move maybe in like a month or two. But that is, again, just a personal opinion. So it's like you're going to risk 10% to the downside for, I mean, technically, potentially like 20-ish% to the upside. So, if you like that, I guess. That's a question that only you can answer based off of your risk tolerance. But do I think that you're going to bounce a little bit more from here? Yeah, I do. Do I think $20 makes sense as a stop loss or an invalidation? Yeah, I do. So I think the setup is valid. Does it play out in your, in your favor? That's the question, and only price action can answer that in its entirety. So yeah, man. Technically okay risk reward, but that one's going to be up to you. I like the setup, or I think the setup is valid. I personally wouldn't take it myself, but yeah, there you go. Anyways, JMeg is looking at Marvel monthly. Okay, MRVL, gotcha. Okay. Wow, big, massive, girthy green dildo party to the upside. Yeah, I wouldn't be calling tops on this one just yet. Well, it's just not often that you see the RSI above 90, let alone 90 fucking 5. And this thing has actually never seen it on a weekly time frame like this. And sorry, I meant to say on a weekly. Monthly, look, I think that this one is going to be putting in a major high. Maybe it's this month, probably next month, July. Anywhere between now and August, I think that you're putting in major highs on this thing. Is it going to go higher first? It would not take much for the weekly to really crash down here, but I would not validate this as a major high until you're back down below Friday's low of 261. If and when that happens, first target 224, and ultimately I think that this thing would be putting in a major, probably macro high for a while, and it's going to work its way down, well below $200. Let's call it like 160-ish region. But until then, I'd be respectful of this until you take out Friday's low. Just by trading below Friday's low, by the way, that is bad enough. You do have already many drives of bearish divergence right here. You got extremes on volatility, and you got extreme RSI reads right here, although it does lack divergence. So I could easily see a flash crash to like 240, pop back up, make another new high or two, and that's probably where you top out at. And if I'm looking at the monthly right here, where would those upside targets or areas of interest necessarily be? I guess I've already done this, but I guess 370 upon continuation, and then you got like 420. So maybe one or both of those get hit after after a very quick and hopefully painless correction. I think that would be the more healthy way of doing that. But yeah. Anyways, MGs. I skipped conservative cat. He's looking at GWRE. Spell it right, Krown. GWRE. There we go. Very lovely. Very nice. Okay, and this one, first chart of the day that just is obviously not as good. Is not as good, man. Rejected last week on a lower high, also on the green 55 EMA, also on hidden bearish divergence, 1, 2, 3 drive. So this is obviously the worst chart that we've seen thus far. I mean, that's just thus far, to be fair. Look, I think it's coming back down to the lows at 118, 120-ish region, and this one has a real chance to break lower. Like not just play out a range move to the downside, but actually break below 118 and initiate a move towards about 105, 108 region. I think that this thing's topped for a long time, and the rejection last week is significant. And if I had to call this one, I do think that this one does find its way towards $100 in the coming, like sometime in summer, basically. Short term, like very, very short term, does it maybe try one more bounce off of these lows? Yeah, I mean, very, very common behavior to be happening. But I wouldn't be getting greedy on that bounce. I mean, I think best case scenario on a bounce gets back to like 140, if that. And that's, again, best case scenario. Anybody's got MG next, looking at symbol MU. I think last week after this, I was looking at this one likely putting in a major high. Weekly is pretty hot there. I mean, very, very, very high volatility, which you typically see around major highs. Weekly also has bearish divergence as well. And daily, if we go down here, you'd probably do try a rally from here in the very short term, pops back to like $1,000 or so. But I do think that this thing, at some point is going to correct lower between now and next month of July, and you're going to see this thing somewhere between like 750 to 800. So I think that this thing is like very mature in its rally. It is whatever gains you've been looking for on this thing, they've already, it's like more than 95% of them have played out. Even if it gets one more drive of continuation here to new highs, I don't think you got that much more in terms of time, especially. I'd really be taking profits especially if I was involved in this thing to the upside at any point in the past like year, especially. I mean, shit, even in the past few months, it's been a major fucking winner. It looks like Bitcoin's pulling back as well. So yeah, the lower term time from hidden bearish divergence seems to want to play out here. Anyways, yes. So yeah, would I say just a bounce? I think it is. I would be erring on the side of just a bounce, and even if it gets continuation, you're trying to squeeze water from a rock at that point. In my experience, not a wise decision. I'd certainly be selling at least some if I was involved in this thing, and I would certainly not be starting a position right there unless if it's for like a quick day trade. MG's back. He's looking at MSRT. Okay, this is a new one, MSRT. That is, I'm guessing you probably meant MSFT, maybe Microsoft. Microsoft, as we went over last week, not looking too hot right here. Pretty nasty rejection, and I still think that this one's coming down. Actually, I think that you see sub 400, like 380 to 390 region. Yeah. maybe even all the way back down to these lows. But do I think it's going to break lower right here? Probably not. Just return to the lows. So yeah. Assuming that this was even the chart that you wanted to look at. Hopefully it was, man. And what's up, The Only John? Welcome back to the channel. Fuck yeah, man. We got more channel members. Hell fucking yes. Arib says, short goal. You're still in it, baby. The most patient man of the whole channel. But hey, patience gets rewarded, especially on a trade like this. I still love your position. I still think that it's ultimately going lower, actually. But yeah, when daily 377, I'm guessing that is, about 3950 to 4,000. Look, I think you're going to get there given enough time, but in the very, very short term, it's probably going to try a rally to extend to like maybe 4,400. Again, probably not super relevant to you. I think in the next month, you do see that, somewhere between 3,900 to 4,150, something like that. Still longer term, I do think it goes lower, but you're going to get some bounces along the way, probably around that $4,000 number or so. But yeah, the longer that we kind of draw this one out, the more and more that I'm looking for this to come like well below $4,000. And at some point, I want to accumulate some gold for myself. But yeah, it's certainly not right here. I do think that this one will trade lower over time. And then you're also looking at silver as usual. Silver over here, same thing. This one I think is going to be the better like percentage winner for you, just because silver, is a little more volatile than gold. This one still looking at $63 is like a very, very, very obvious target. But in the very short term on the daily, you're resting on the 200 simple. You're probably going to try a bounce here, or you are trying to bounce here, and working your way back to like 69, $70. Probably expected. But just like gold, I think with the more patience that you have, the more and more likely you're going to see this one below $60. Silver is not something that I'm personally interested in accumulating, but let's just, while we're here on these two major commodities, look at the 6-month time frame. Because remember, at the end of June, we close a semi-annual dildo. And right now, this is one massive fucking shooting star dildo to the upside. And to be fair, this thing actually does seem to kind of play those out, especially gold, actually. Gold as well, same thing. Massive shooting star dildo right there. Again, on major volume. Like, I've been saying this for a long time, man. And I'm not saying this to like hurt people's feelings or to shit on people, but I am saying it that, look, it's just, this is going to be very obvious in hindsight. These are macro highs being put in, all right? So how about that? How about that?
How's that ass feel?
How's that ass feel? How's that ass feel? Fuck yeah, man. Anyways, let's see. Oh shit. I just got an email notification. My SCAR 17 is being delivered today. Oh my God. I didn't even know if it was real, to be honest with you, man. Oh, that is exciting. I'm shooting 308, baby. 308. My balls just got bigger. Vince Hab PH8 says XLV. This is, the healthcare sector. I think I used to have this one out on my list. Short term, I think it's found a weekly range high here, and I do think it's going to work its way back down to 150. I'm not necessarily bearish on it, but I do think your short term is a little bit down. This is undoubtedly a range high right here, and I do think it actually will break out to the upside given enough time. But in the short term, yes, it wants some downside. I'm looking for it to come back down at least like 150. Things get really crazy, maybe it goes a little bit below 150, like 147. It's not a humongous player here, obviously. I mean, very, very, very low volatility, be fair. But as far as the monthly goes, I still like it long term. I still like it long term. I think it's going to go up long term. I don't know if I'd necessarily invest in this myself. But yeah, monthly hidden bullish Everton still working on this low. So short term pullback, probably another higher low. Probably grinds its way out sideways in that range, but ultimately resolves higher. So yeah, cool. All right. Let me scroll down a little bit. Let me take another sip of this water. Alex Samani says my bounce target was just below 67. I think it's possible, but very, very short-term Bitcoin does want to pull back here, play out those divergences. But again, it's kind of like near the top side of like my best case scenario. And I don't think it's that realistic to even get up all the way there, at least in the short term. Still cautious about that low $50,000 crack. Yeah, for sure, man. I think that we could absolutely get something like that. That's absolutely still in the cards. And honestly, that would make my job a lot easier and also initiate a lot of potential trades for me as well. If Bitcoin could just flash crash to like 50 really quick and then bounce up big, intra week. At that point, I have a lot of work to do in terms of, in terms of options trading. That would be like my perfect scenario to be putting on some major positions that I, the likes of which I've not seen in many years. But for right now, Nah, this is still inconclusive as it stands. Anyways, let's see. Greybot Hype is looking at FLKR. Okay, FLKR. It's a new one, I think. South Korea ETF. Interesting. I wonder what this is all about. Well, obviously about South Korea, but you know what I mean. Anyways, hold on. Let me just scroll back over here. Trying to keep up with the damn chats. FLKR. I'm looking for something that's obvious right now. Weekly has some bearish evidence that it's working off of. So if I did have to call it, I do think you will work your way back down to about $50. And that is like a 15 to 16% move from where you're at right now. Very short term on the daily. Probably tries another rally back up to like 63, 64, 65. So a little bit extension, but I'd be looking for rejection there because you do have some hidden bullish evidence on the on the daily RSI right here to play out. That probably leads into the weekly bearish evidence playing out. You can see how like one thing leads to the next. And the monthly also is building some bearish evidence here. If it fails to really continue back above about $66, I would say, by July, and especially if you see July even just trade below like 53, I mean, at that point, I think you got a much deeper pullback to be aware of, like 40 to $41, something like that if that were to happen. So one thing before the next, I didn't ask about the monthly, but you can see the setup on the monthly if that bounce fails and does trade a little bit lower. Yeah, man. Attaching your sack size to your gun size, sir. Classic overcompensation. I know. But you know what? That's fine. I also have a big truck. That means I have a small penis. Also have small socks and small shoes. Who gives a fuck, man? Who gives a fuck? Or maybe that's something that people just say, I don't know, for whatever fucking reason, doesn't really matter. You look at any rifles that take Creedmoor. God, no. I try to avoid ammos that, or I try to avoid chambers that don't really have like really easily accessible ammo. And Creedmoor is one of those calibers that just doesn't really seem to. I mean, first off, it's very expensive, and then second off, it's kind of like not as easy to find. 308 is a lot easier to find, I feel like. 9mm, obviously extremely easy to find, and 5.56 being in America is absolutely extremely easy to find as well. Anyways, Isaiah Cruz says, good afternoon, Krown. What's up, man? Take a look at, as always, just one fucking ticker at a time, sir. Get with the program. But that's okay, man. I can't fault you for trying. I would do the same thing. Just ask for fucking everything. There used to be guys who'd come in here like, years ago and just request like fucking 10 tickers at a time. It's like, dude, do you like look out, faggot? Yes, that would be my thoughts. Anyways, yeah, looking at the weekly here, looking at the monthly, I like it. I think that this thing's still bullish. Looking at the weekly, I think you got a little bit of a pullback, maybe back to like 1100. Not anything super crazy. If it does take one more step down, I'd be looking at like 1020 to 1000 even, but the monthly wants to continue. I would still be bullish on this. This is overall good, whatever the hell this thing is. I guess it's a pharmaceutical, so whatever. Anyways, sweet. Yes. Greybot Hype's looking at HYDR. Gotcha, man. HYDR. Hydrogen ETF. Yeah, we looked at this one a few times. And what do you fucking know? Those magical lines work every once in a while now, don't they? Now, I'm not necessarily like full on fucking bearish on this. Ultimately, this is a move that's kind of expected, right? You pop back up to a previous rejection, you reject from it yet again on volume. So this one wants to go lower, kind of this, as we had marked out over here. And I do think that it probably comes like at least to $55, probably, a very small bounce attempt there. If you're on the daily, that may be relevant to you. But do I think that things will come ultimately lower than that over time? Actually, yes, I do think it comes around about $50. And that's where I'd be looking for potentially on the next major low. But for now, I think that you found your highs. In terms of like the mega move, that's over. That one is done. It's kaput. And your next swing is to the downside into a higher low, hopefully, assuming that you are along this thing. Anyways, Nishant Abraham says, I vested RSUs of Intel. Good time to sell. What's an RSU? I'm guessing you have like some sort of position in Intel. I don't know what an RSU is, man, to be honest with you. In over 15 years of trading, I've actually never heard, or at least I don't know what that is in reference to Intel. Look, for me, I can tell you what I did with Intel, because I did own a lot of it that I bought back in like 2023, 2022. And I did sell some at 120. I didn't catch the actual high, okay? You don't need to catch the actual fucking high to make a shit ton of money. I think it's just a good idea to sell when you hit a major move like that on volatility. So we hit the 2 spot extension from the previous 25-year long consolidation. Of course, I'm going to sell some right there. Do I think that you should sell your whole position? Well, I'll put it this way. I didn't sell my whole position, but I do expect there will be some downside here. There will be some downside here. Yeah. But do I think that the highs are in for forever? No. In fact, in the very, very short term, I think it rallies back up. So you probably get another chance to sell 120 if you really want. But personally, I had to sell that, not because I think that the rally's done for forever, but because I have to take some profits on a major fucking massive move like that. That's just good, long-term behaviors. As far as the quarterly goes, assuming this thing, finishes the quarter out above the previous all-time highs at $80, you can get corrections down to $80 possibly, but I don't think that the highs are in just yet. I actually do think that this thing does make new highs in summer. It's just getting into extreme territory here on the quarterly RSI. Monthly's been there for a while. So, probably some new highs in summer, but, how much higher does it realistically get? I would say best case scenario, just, pulling some out of my asshole right now is about 150, something like that. As far as your RSUs, no idea. As far as this chart, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm thinking. The Mossinator says, hey, Krown, MicroStrategy weekly, monthly, have a long call spread, 140 to 165. As always, I absolutely fucking hate longing premium, but at least you sold something against it. But I can tell you also what I do not like, what I probably am not going to like about your position is that, yeah, volatility is already high. So I think that this was a very, very bad do personally. Your break even's 148. Yeah, this is just a terrible position in my opinion. Absolutely terrible position. This is in August, so I dare ask what you paid for this. I guess your break even is 148. Again, if you're bullish, man, you should just buy the fucking underline. This was a badly formed position. No offense. I'm not trying to talk down to you, not trying to talk shit to you. Just as a position, just as an educational type thing. You broke a couple of cardinal sins. One, you bought premium. I always hate doing that. You at least did it with the spread, so there is that. You bought high volatility. That's fucking major cardinal sin number one. Never do that when you're if you're gonna buy a call spread or buy put spread or any sort of net buying of premium, don't do it when volatility is high, and this is absolutely high volatility right there. Especially on the daily. I mean, God, you got absolutely raped on those prices, man. You got absolutely fucking raped on those prices. Bad, dude. Very, very bad. You need to go above 148 by August. I think you're going to rally. I do think you extend the rally a little bit more here. Probably going to get to 140, but 148 is still kind of a far cry away from that. If you're bullish for that move, man, you should have just bought the underline. You're going to get a rally here, regardless of whether it's bullish or bearish. You could have made money on that. Instead, you played the game on hard mode. And I think that this just, I see people do this all the time, man. Stop buying fucking calls. Stop buying fucking puts. Whenever you do that naked, you are going to lose more often than not. And you're absolutely not going to make as much money as you could have if you literally just longed the underline. And you had such an easy setup here too. Last week's low, invalidation. Long right here. Sell at 140 or 142. That would have been an easy trade for you. Unfortunately, this is going to be a fucking massive headache for you that you might end up holding until the end of the expiration. Look, you're going to hate me if I'm wrong in this and this thing just goes moon mode from here, but I don't think that that's realistic. I think July, you're not going to see all that much. Maybe August, this thing, if it is going to be bullish, it flips back around, but I think your upside is still going to be capped by that time, anyways. Yeah, man, if you haven't already, go through the Options 101 beginners course. It's free. If you would have done that, you could have avoided this mistake right here. This was, in my opinion, just not the optimal way to do things at all whatsoever. If you're bullish on a name, just fucking buy it. That's always going to be a better do. Or what what would have been a little bit of an easier position here would have been to sell some puts, or sorry, not sell some puts. Well, you wanted to capture the upside. You could have sold some puts and then shorted the underlying, but it's probably ask for too much. I think that gets a little bit too complicated at some point. Although that's something that I absolutely love doing myself, by the way. That is preferably one of the next major positions that I really could take with Bitcoin if it actually does break down. I'd love to sell some puts and just short the underlying and then collect the premium there. Like that I love. But yeah, man, as far as that position, I don't understand why you did that. I don't think it was a good idea. And yeah, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's just not a good way to make money. Nishant Abraham says, I want to buy and hold Meta for a few years, aiming for $1,100 to $1,200 target. That's quite lofty. All right, let's look at it first. I think this was maybe like one of the worst looking ones out of like the previously big tech stocks. All right, so you're looking for just a classy 2x from here, basically, not bad. Any entry now is already good. I think that you are going to come lower. I do think that you will come closer to $500, maybe a little bit below $500. Even if you're the biggest bull, I do think that you will see somewhere between $450 to $500, basically. In which case, I'd say that's an infinitely better position than to take it right here. That's just personal opinion. But hey, if you want to hold things underwater, if you want to DCA into it, that's also that can also be a valid strategy as well. But I don't really see the need to do that in this particular instance because this is downtrending on all timeframes that matter right now. For this current move, and I do think that it will reach lower. Anyways, but do you see a better price probability in the next 3 months? Yeah, I do. I think you're going to get closer to $500, maybe a little bit below $500. Hey, what's up, Tyler? Coinbase has inverse perps. Yeah, it does. It does. Can I log into my Coinbase account right now? I think it uses USDC as the collateral, and you can't use the usual like Bitcoins and stuff like that. At least I need to double check on this because I'm just starting to get my feet wet on this platform. But hey, what? Oh, whoops. All right, never mind. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, there are. Yeah, it's already there. It's already there. They even got nano futures. It's kind of cool. Yeah, they do have perps. For all the big names, actually, it looks like, God, man, who the fuck is trading perps on on Ondo coin or Bcash? I don't know, but they exist. It works kind of the same way that you're familiar with in other crypto casinos. You have a funding rate. Right now, Bitcoin's funding rate is more or less 0. Interesting. Anyways, back into it over here. Shivan Mahajan says, Baba, okay, also did not get the memo, just one at a time, sir. That's all good though. Baba, we'll get the first one. Down, I believe we looked at this one a week or two ago and it was still bear, or it was bearish then and it's still bearish now. Still think that this one's gonna come down to at least $100 over time. You gave no time frames as well, just multiple requests, no time frames, beautiful. I think it at least comes down to like $100 in the next, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 months. If things get really crazy, maybe like an 85 tick, but yeah, I think it's generally down from here for the next few months. You're going to get bounces along the way, obviously, but I wouldn't be expecting to get back above 150 anytime soon. Put it that way. Chris Vela says T sucky soul. T sucky soul. One of the few shitcoins that we'll see that actually looks good. But then again, it's being measured versus Solana. So is it actually like really good? Probably not. As far as this thing goes, I do think, I mean, look, I can't really be bearish on this thing. Got a little bit of bearish evidence forming here on the daily, but I don't think it's going to play out just yet. Probably tries maybe a little bit higher first, perhaps towards like about 1.5 cent. That's where I think you're a lot more obviously going to put in a range high, and in between kind of where you're at right now and at that number, which, oh God, to be fair, that's significantly higher than where you're at right now. Wait, what the fuck? Is that right? Yeah, that is right. That's crazy. Oh my God. No wonder you like playing these things. Yeah, this one makes it really, really difficult though. Look, I don't know. I think basically it's topping in this area right here for this current move. I wouldn't say it's done like for forever, but I do think you're gonna pop back down, try to find a higher low, and then maybe pop back up later on. But yeah, if I'm looking at the daily, you're starting to see bearish evidence form, but I don't think it's playable right now, especially as long as you're above yesterday's low. So I'd still be looking for another stab up towards that, at least 1 cent, and maybe as much as like 1.5 cent. But that's where I'd be looking for really like some great pullback on something like this. Cool. Yeah, the Krown cross happened like a long time ago, man. So it's not super relevant. That happened all the way back here in 10th of March. So if you're playing that, I mean, you had some pretty amazing gains on the daily, at least. Yeah, just like 700%, not bad. But if you're calling out the Krown cross over here, you're late to the game by very, very large margins, or I'm sorry. Yeah. All right, cool. Oh wow, we got the crypto scammers back in the comments now. You know things must be going better in the markets if that's happening. All right, cool. What else we got? Let's see. Chad Gambler says CIBR daily. CIBR daily. Okay. I don't think I know this one. Daily's down, and you're saying my average buy is $64. Nice. I think you got to be taking a little bit of profits here though. Looking for target of 110. I think you're getting a little greedy, man. A little bit greedy. A little greedy right there. Look, I'd be taking profits the next time it pops back up towards like 88 to 90 bucks. At least some, you know, very, very close to your target. You know, you had a really great trade, but don't be surprised if this thing comes back down to 80 bucks sometime this month. I do think it would bounce there, and it probably does try another move to the upside from $80, but yeah, don't be surprised to see this thing back down around 80 bucks this month, or just anywhere around there. Do I think it's topped though? Not yet. I actually don't think it's topped just yet. So I don't hate your target. I just think if you're going to wait exactly for that target to hit, that might take some time, man. So personally, I have a resolution to be taking profits in a region like this. Doesn't need to be all of them, but at least like 30%. And get ready for a bit of a downside move as this one resets and works off of extreme conditions. And then, if you want to reload there, I think that's fine because higher term time frame's not bad. Probably not done yet. Yeah. Oh wow, there are a lot of chats today. Okay, cool. What's up, Monkey Mike? Good morning, man. Andrew Plus says, can we compare NNE and URG? Sure. I'll just do the old-fashioned way like this. There we go. And see how this one pops up. Well, the obvious thing is it's a downtrend. I don't know how much it matters, but I'd just be bearish on NNE versus URG as long as it's below 18.5 bucks, whatever the hell that ratio refers to or means. I have no idea. Yeah, that's what I'd be saying about that. Short term, probably NNE gains a little bit versus URG. Let's actually look at URG. I'm curious myself. 167. Yeah, coming down and playing out a bit of a pullback, a fucking crash move, something like that, man. But yeah, I actually don't really hate this chart just yet, at least. Anyways, let's see. Nishant is back. He's looking at Walk Pharma. All right, Walk a Flock of Flame Pharma. God, man, who the fuck is going to his pharmacy? Doesn't even remember Walk a Flock of Flames. Like, no one remembers this probably. Anyways, kind of similar to one of the other charts that we just looked at. I do think you got some downside here, but it probably will bounce at about 1,700 rubies, if that's the denominating currency. Somewhere between 17 to 1,800. I'd be looking for bounces there. Is the all-time high breakout still in play? Yeah, it's just, short term, does it pop back down, reconnect with the 5 EMA, a little bit lower? Probably, but I'm not necessarily bearish on this just yet. Yeah, I think it's okay for now. Yeah. If it did pop back down below last month's low, or shit, even below like 1,600, at that point, I'd say, yeah, your all-time high party is over. But for now, I think it's just popping back down for a higher low on the lower term timeframes. Breakout is still in play basically as long as you're above, let's call it 1,700 on a weekly closing basis if you're playing the higher term timeframes, which I think you kind of have to be on this thing. Batman, he's looking at CIFR. Okay. Did we look at this one earlier or maybe not? No, I don't think so, actually. Okay, let me redo this chart. Too many damn things in my eyes. Let's see. What time frames are you looking at, daily and weekly? I think that this one's actually still okay as long as you're above last week's low. Dare I say, I think it might just be going up from here. Yeah. As long as you're above last Friday's low even. So last Friday's low is 21.22. I would actually treat this one as likely to continue on with a rally. Monthly is not necessarily, it's definitely not bearish. Quarterly is not bearish either. Like, these are charts that want to likely continue into summer. Only way only way I'd invalidate that statement is if you trade back down below last Friday's low. And, at that point you're in for a correction, maybe another like 15% lower. But until then, man, the yellow brick trend is to the upside very obviously. Monopoly says best time frame for the Bitcoin exhaustion / buy signal. Well, right now, Bitcoin's moving to the upside, so you should be looking for sell exhaustion signals. But it depends what time frame you're on, man. Best time frame, like, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying? I don't understand. Like, the problem with answering a lot of questions, especially directly, one, obviously legality and being a financial advisor and giving financial advice. Like, obviously that's legal, so I'm not a financial advisor. But the second is like, maybe you do know what you want to do, but I don't know what you want to do because you haven't specified like at all. Like, best time frame for Bitcoin exhaustion / buy signal. It's not the time frame. It's like the stack of confluential signals that creates a high probability bottom. Now, what time frame would I necessarily be focusing on if I want to call like a macro low here? Weekly and nothing less than that for sure, and preferably more so a monthly. But monthly is going to take a lot longer, and weekly you can probably start to lean into positions once this one starts to really fire off some signals. But as far as exhaustion goes, like, how are you going to measure exhaustion? I mean, in this case, exhaustion to me would mean like divergences forming and stuff like that. But again, it's like we need to define these terms. Maybe I'm just being too much of a fucking autistic moron, and all you mean is like, what time frame should I be looking at in order to start to look for signals of a low? I'd say a weekly. That's probably what you meant, and I'm just probably talking shit. So fair enough. Anyways, cool. Yarbrook says GIS weekly. Okay. LTI is screaming strong buy. It depends how you have what's it called? How you have formatted your LTI. So if you're just using it default, understand default is not going to be optimized towards anything. So if it's giving you a strong buy signal, then probably not worth paying attention to. But assuming that you've already gone through past behaviors and formed the settings that you like, especially for macro lows in this case, then look, do I think it's going to try for a low here? Probably. Let's see what the quarterly's at. It would be very obvious to me if by the end of this month this thing was back above 36 and a half bucks, that I would call a low here, and I do think you're going to be right. If it takes another step down, I mean, you got a long ways down to like 29, 30 bucks, and that's the next kind of area of interest, I guess. But as far as your LTI, it completely depends how you formatted it. But there are some impending bounce signals here. Weekly is working on some divergences. Monthly, it's not going to have divergences, but it's just beat the fuck up so much. And we do see, monthly volatility getting up there is usually going to be a signal, especially on downside moves, that probably not going to keep it up for that much longer. What I'm trying to say is maybe the low's in, maybe it's not. If you do go a little bit lower, probably another 10% lower towards 30 bucks. And that's kind of where I'd be looking for. But the problem is that you're looking for a bounce to $47. So I think a safer bounce target would be like 42 personally, but that's just me. Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if it went to 47, but I think that's kind of asking for a lot. Again, just personal opinion there. Anyways, un momento. Let me take a sip of this. Okay, nice one. All right. Tom says NYSE BXWT. BXWT. Okay, got it. What? I think it's BWXT actually. Yeah. I know we've looked at it before, so I know that it actually exists. So I'm guessing this is what you meant. Look, I'm dyslexic too. I do it all the time. So I understand, sir. I understand. Anyways, you're looking at a weekly and a monthly looking for entry. Nuclear is ready. I do like nuclear as a narrative, but it seems like everyone else likes it too. I mean, look at the fucking chart, right? Look, I would feel a lot better about picking it up closer to like 170 than I would right here. I'll put it that way. Do I think it still has more in this rally overall? I can see why you might like it here at like 180. That is a gap fill, and that is a 55 on the weekly, but I don't know, man. Look, if I'm shooting you straight, there are a lot of toppy signals here. You got bearish divergence developing on the quarterly, and you're still below those highs from 2018 as well. So if you see this thing really start to work its way below 170, I think I'm going to be wrong about any sort of like major upside continuation. You're probably going to collapse at that point and, play at a big downside move, like 130 or so, if that were to happen. In which case, that probably is actually a major load, worth investing in. But for right now, it's like, yeah, nuclear is ready. I mean, it seems like everyone else has already figured this out. So I don't know, man. I think you're kind of late to the party on this one. You're gonna be squeezing water from a rock at this point. 6-month time frame. This is a shooting star dildo, right? I think you're buying a top. Is it ready? I mean, nuclear energy is probably cool and ready, and I think it's overall good. But this, as far as an investable stock, I would say hell no for me, at least. Hell no. Yeah. Like, if you can be patient and wait for an entry between like 130 and maybe as low as like 115, I think that would be cool. ESS is, hey, Krown, what a journey it's been. So weird going back to signing into brokerage accounts again. I know, but I'm actually like pretty happy about it, man. I'm pretty done with like these fucking crypto exchanges. Look, they still have their place and everything. Of course, not everyone wants to be on like a legitimate exchange and whatnot. And of course, you also don't get access to the crazy amounts of leverage. But I think at this point, there's only just a very certain type of person. Look, if you're going to do that game, honestly, what I would recommend, and these people actually have paid for the sponsorship, by the way. And like I said, this is like the first 2 sponsorships I've ever even considered taking. But I did link up with Bitfunded. You probably already heard of them. They're basically a prop shop. But I will say, it's this link right here, by the way. I will say, at least they are not doing what most prop shops are doing, which is just completely fucking lying. Bitfunded is a simulated trading environment. You are not trading real money. You are not, like, your trades are not real. It's all a game there. But if you do pass their evaluation, they will give you payouts equal to what you would have made if you make money. But yeah, they actually explicitly say all of this is simulated. These will not be put on real positions. And somehow, some way, from what they've showed me, they have not missed a single payment to people who have actually made money there in the past, like since inception. So that's been, I think, a little over 3 years now. So, if you really want to play like the crypto bucket shops, it's probably a better option. At least you don't have to like risk your actual money. And, if something crazy happens, you get one of those crazy wicks, like, you're not going to get fucking wiped out with your own funds. You lose, you'll still lose a little bit of money, I guess, like, because you have to pay for the initiation fees and whatnot, but at least you won't have to deal with that. So it's a little bit of a safer way if you're intent on continuing to trade on these sort of non-official exchanges, let's say. But yeah, man, for me, I personally would like to get onto the official exchanges because, look, man, I have no problem with going legit. It's just, I just wanted the fucking products that I wanted, options and perps. This is what I've been waiting for a very, very long time. So, again, there is stuff for everyone, but for me, and I think for the people who are really, looking to take the next step, I think that's going to be the way to go. Anyways, cool. All right. So we got that. Bulk Pony says socks. I exited at 608. Is it done for the long term? This has been like one of the hottest sectors recently, and you exited at 606. So you more or less sold the top thus far, at least. Would I call it the top just yet? Personally, I would not call this the top just yet. I think you did you took a really good action personally because look, this is a crazy rally here. And whether the top is in or not, in terms of timing, I don't think you have that much more to go to the upside. That much more time to go to the upside. Maybe another month or 2 at most. But this thing is very likely topping in summer, in Q3. Maybe it's already topped. I think you did the right thing selling at least some of your position there. You don't need to sell all of it. You're at extreme extensions at this point. So this is total fucking Twilight Zone behavior here. And what I mean by that is, if it does go up more, that's just, I think, luck of the draw at that point. Taking profits in a region like this is a really good investment decision. Yeah, it's possible it goes up a little bit more in the next month or 2, but ultimately, in terms of topping, whether it tops at 606 or whether it gets to like 700 or 750, you've seen most of the gains there. And when it turns around, the problem with waiting for the actual top is once you know it's the actual top, it's going to turn around so fucking fast. You're going to probably end up selling at like 600 anyways. So I like that decision. I think that was a mature decision. And I wouldn't necessarily call a top here just yet. I think it's possible for it to make another new high or 2 in perhaps July, but I don't think it's going for much more than that. So look, I think that was a great trade. That was some great, those were great actions. I would continue to do shit like that, man. And I assume you probably made a shit ton of money on this because even in the past couple of months, it's like basically 2x, so not bad. Yarbrook says, what optic are you going with? Well, actually, I got two scars. One is the Gen 2 and one is the Gen 3. And so on one of them, I think I'll put an ACOG, and the other one, I think I'll put an LPVO. But I'm not sure. If you have a suggestion, man, let me know. Because I've been like frantically searching like what I should put on it. I don't want to do like super long range stuff because I don't really care about that. But at the same time, I feel like the Scar deserves a more high class optic. So yeah, man, let me know your recommendations because I'm actually like genuinely interested. Anyways, Sing Capital says thoughts on hype, like hype, the Hyperliquid coin, this thing. Last I looked at it, I think we were seeing a top, but I don't recall exactly what this chart looks like. Yeah, it was a top. Rallying back up here, and I think we're looking for a corrective. Okay, nice. Hey, not bad. Looks like the LARP line's got this bounce pretty well. I think you're still probably going to top out right about here. I think most of these things are going to play with Bitcoin, and they're basically rallying up to the range highs on the short-term time frames, and they're going to reject from those range highs. And I don't think that this thing's anything different. So yeah, my red circle over here, it's kind of like grazed the bottom portion of that. I would say you're probably going to go sideways and down here, but I'm not calling like a catastrophic, dump or anything like this. I think for now it's just a range play. You've already played out the hidden bullish divergence, so I wouldn't be expecting this one to go to do anything more crazy. Yeah, and I certainly would not flip around to being bullish on this thing as long as you're below $69 for like new highs. For now, I think you found your short-term range high. I think you come back down. You didn't really give me any time frames to go off of, so I'm just going off of what's in front of my face. 4-hour and daily, both of these likely found a high right there, and I would not be bullish until it reclaims $68 on a daily closing basis. Until then, daily, weekly. I don't have any confirmations of like major tops just yet, so I'd hold off on saying anything more. I think for now, I just call a range play, and I think they're going to come sideways and down from here, closer to your range lows between, somewhere in the 50s, mid to upper 50s, and then come back to it after that. Obviously, if it does break below last week's low, last Friday's low, then I would call a real reversal, and I'd be looking for price action to come down to like $45. But for right now, that's not realistic or valid. It's just a range play, so I'll let it play the range. Cool. Christopher says, hey, Krown, what's up, man? Thoughts on CPB? CPB. See, do we have any optics suggestions here? Hold on. We have to read the optics suggestions. This is very important. Then we'll get back to super chats. Krown is never wrong. That is completely false. I'm wrong. I'm wrong very often. The thing is that I know when I'm wrong, and I have my invalidations set up for such things. That is the purpose of an invalidation. We're going to be wrong. It happens, man. It happens, and it's okay. The goal is don't stay wrong once you know you're wrong. That's the goal. All right, where's the optics? Where's the optics, baby? Need to see the options. Let's see. Where are the optics? Nope, I have no optics. No optics. Chilling. Oh, well, whatever. Okay, cool. We'll move over to, yes, CPB. That's right. CPB. The Campbell's Company. Is this like the one that makes the soup? Don't like it. What are you doing in shit like this, man? Look, you're getting a pity bounce here just from the very unvirtuous fact of getting back towards a previous macro low from literally 24 years ago. It's not a sign of strength. Is it going to try to rally from here? Yes. Is this a strong asset? Fuck no. Is it likely to try more upside from here? Yes, over a long period of time. But when you crash down like this, you don't just fucking V bottom back up. You spend your time on the bottom typically, and then you'll try one of those nice spikes to the upside. And honestly, this is just not the thing to be fucking focusing on. I mean, this is absolute hot garbage here, man. Sorry, but someone needs to tell you. Look, do I think at some point in the next couple of years it's going to rally up to like $28? Sure. But for fuck's sake, man, like opportunity cost is a real thing. If you want to be a long-term investor, which it's maybe you are if you're looking at a weekly and a monthly, even though weekly's probably found a short-term high right here and pops back down. But I think it's done going to the downside. I don't think it's going to like crack through 19 and a half bucks, like in like a strong way anytime soon. I think that you will get a bounce up in the back half of this year. That bounce probably fails at some point, but yeah, it's just like, why, man? Why? You don't have to trade shit like this, you know? You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. I don't know, maybe you really like the company or something like that, or you have some insider information, in which case, more power to you. But that ain't my game, and it's also illegal, so I don't know, you probably shouldn't be telling me if you do have that insider information, because, you know, we're on the internet, and I don't know, you might end up in jail or some shit like that. Unless you're a politician, then you can do it. Anyways, Sebastian says INFQ upside downside targets. Literally no time frames given, no nothing given, just figure it out. Read my mind. I think you probably try a bounce from here off the daily 200 simple. Weekly, this is a bounce area right here. I'd only call a breakdown below 1382, same horizontal as before. Yeah. Kind of had its chance to break out last week, obviously, but this is absolutely a flyer. So it's going to be volatile like this. I'd give it a chance right here, or a little bit lower than where it's already gone to, again, 1382. Until it actually trades below and closes the daily below there, I'd still say, give it an opportunity to try for a higher low right here. But not the most strong thing. Like upside downside targets, like what do you do with that? There is no targets right here. It's just, here's an invalidation for short-term bullishness on a higher low. If it is going to be bullish, then probably popping back up to the range highs of like 18, 19 bucks. If it fails that invalidation, then I'd be looking for it to come down to like 11.30. There you go. In the future, formulate it. Maybe that's what you're going for. I don't know. Anyways, Steve Briscoe is looking at Lunar weekly monthly. Again, Lunar was one of our big ones from the past couple of months, but it did hit some major targets. So there have been some major selling, at least from me. This thing, I do think this week you probably try and move back up towards like 32, 33, maybe 34 bucks. But ultimately, I do not think that this is the move you're looking for. I do think that this move to the upside is done for a little bit of time, and you will find your way lower towards 25, 26 bucks after a short-term upside try. But yeah, should try a little bit of an upside move here. Maybe it gets back up to like 30, 36, possible as well. But I'd be treating this one as bearish as long as you're below about $40 now. On a daily closing basis. So short-term rally, sure. It's just long-term, it is starting to enter into a downtrend here, and there are issues. So yeah, there is one point of hopium, and it is a decent point of hopium, I should say as well. But it would be the monthly 5 EMA still holding up price action. You know, you could wait for the monthly. The problem is that if the monthly does fail, then, you know, price is probably gonna be all the way at like, you know, 20 bucks by the time you actually get that closure. So, you know, I can understand why someone would do that. I'm personally not doing it. Like I said, I sold it around 42 as planned out before. Cool. All right. MG76 says MicroStrategy MSTR. Gotcha. Weekly, monthly, and bi-monthly. Okay, interesting. Don't see the bi-monthly too often. Yeah, kind of as we went over earlier from one of the other guys, I do think you have some short-term upside here. And I do think that you're kind of done going to the downside in the short term. But when I look at the bi-monthly, I think best case scenario, you're just going to be ranging between like 180 to the upside versus 100 to the downside for, you know, the next like couple months probably. That's like best case scenario. Obviously, worst case scenario is you just break down. But yeah, I'm not looking for this thing to reclaim that May high anytime soon. I'll put it that way. See, what about a bi-weekly? Yeah, short term, you know, if it rallies to like 140, I think that makes a lot of sense, but I'd be looking for it to pull back from there, and perhaps officially base off of about $100. So I think you're in for some range plays here. Ideally, obviously, if it's bearish, it's just going to go straight fucking down. But I would be betting on first short-term upside, rejection somewhere around like 140 if it even gets there, comes back down, hopefully holds the lows at like $100. Something like that, man. Cool. One moment. Kush Squad 6064 says, good name. Do you always trade options around your long-term positions? No. In fact, long-term positions, I try to just stick with straight up spot. Or just Bitcoin. No, I actually really only use options for like kind of shorter term positions, or what I refer to as like just trades that I'm meant to be kind of getting in and out of. So I typically don't do options with my long-term investments. I'd rather just, it's the same reason as I explained before. If I want to be long something, if I want to just own something, I will just buy it outright on the spot underline. I don't want to buy calls and I don't want to, I mean, maybe I could do a covered call, if I'm trying to generate income, but I haven't been doing that for a while. So yeah, two completely different things, actually. No, in fact, I do not like to do options with my long-term positions. I like to just manage it straight up. And if I'm going to take a loss, I take a fucking loss. That, just is what it is. But you can get tangled up a little bit more in that. I prefer to do options more on like a bi-weekly or a monthly basis. Like bi-weekly, like expiring 2 weeks from now or expiring up to a month out from now, but no further than that. Any further than that, it's just like, the options just are not really going to move. I like to be an option seller, and they're just really not going to go down until you get, realistically, like a month away from expiration. And honestly, from then, it's really like 2 weeks from expiration where things really start to collapse. So yeah. Anyways, Garrett says, hey man, all good. Gemini. Okay. So Gemini is one that I'm eyeing. I still do not like it here. I still think that this one has not bottomed yet. But there is one way that I actually would get bullish on it. If it did pop back above 560, I probably would buy some. But for now, it's still in a downtrend. It's still pretty ugly to me. I don't like what it's doing here. It's something that I would like to own long-term, but not until it proves itself. And here's the monthly, and it's just atrocious. Anyways, you're looking at 4-hour daily, weekly, please, sir, condemnation, hate, and blessings from Colorado. Hell yeah, man. 4-hour time frame, short-term, a little bit of upside, easily could pop back to like 480 to 490. Doesn't mean anything though. Overall bearish as long as you're below, especially, even it's really like $6 or $6.20 on a lower term time frame. On a daily time frame, you could say about $5.50. But yeah, man, in an ideal situation, this would be forming a higher low right here, but I wouldn't trust it because ultimately it has never put in a higher low just yet. So it really needs to not just put in a higher low for me, it needs to put in that higher low and reclaim the previous range high for me to get interested enough to actually invest in it. But yeah, as far as the chart goes, or as far as the company goes, I actually do want to own some of it. It's just not here. I still think that it goes lower. Got to respect the trend, and the yellow brick trend is still pointed down on pretty much every time frame that matters. So I would not trade against that at the moment. Geisley Superscar trigger. I actually did order that. Hell yeah, man. Honestly, on the LPVOs, you'll either be at minimum or maximum modification all the time as EOTech, EXPS, and EOTech. Oh wow, it's actually great, man. I'm glad that you mentioned that. I have been looking at the EOTech, specifically the G45 magnifier, because that's a 5x, and I feel like a 3x probably isn't enough. And the EOTech itself, they are pretty awesome optics. My friend bought one that's like a knockoff from fucking Alibaba in China, and it's like $90 for the optic and the magnifier. It's obviously not like the real thing, but it's like a 90% deep discount. It's not bad. It looks cool. It even has the same branding. It actually looks really, really good. But as far as the optic goes, it's not perfect. But it ain't terrible, to be fair. Shit, if you're just shooting like 20 yards away, it's gonna be fine. Andrew Plus says IBM looking weak today. Think 270s and back up. I don't know. Let's check it out. IBM over here. Actually, I don't hate it. And I would be agreeing with you, like about 270 is where I want to see this one pull back to, and I want to see it try bounce from there. You're going to have a chance already for hidden bullish divergence because you're already at a lower RSI than what you saw on the 26th of May when it was all the way here at like 245. So coming down to 250, bouncing would initiate that hidden bullish divergence, and that would look better to me. So yeah, just a long way of saying I think I agree with your read here. It'd also be a retest of the red 5 EMA on the monthly. So I like all of these things. I'd give it a chance to bounce after that and then come back to it. Am I buying this one myself? No, I'm not interested in it, but I don't know, maybe I should be. Not terrible. Not the biggest winner of all time, but it's not terrible. So yeah, 270s. That's also a good invalidation and a pivot. So if you lose 270s, just take the loss, man. It's going to go lower. But for now, I'm kind of leaning on the same pull as you, sir. I think it probably goes down to 270 and tries a bounce, and if it's bullish, it should rally from there. A limerick. I haven't heard the word limerick in such a long time, man. Limerick and haiku. Gary 5799 says, has Nasdaq topped? No. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so at all, actually. I do think it potentially has a little more downside here. It's very possible. If it wants to take another leg down, like 27,000 is fair game, but or 27,500 is fair game. But am I calling a top here? No, I'm not. I'm certainly not calling a top here. Yeah, you had a bearish engulfing last week. So if it does want to take another leg down, 27,500. But these are all... I mean, I'm not trying to invest too much at this point in the markets myself, just because in terms of time, I don't think that these markets have that much more to go to the upside. But you know, if you're more of a day, if you're trying to day trade these, I think that those are probably worthwhile swings. If so, can Bitcoin bottom, or is it more likely they both bottom around the same time? Traditionally, Bitcoin does not seem to be correlated to the upside when NASDAQ goes to the upside, but it does seem to be heavily correlated with a very high beta to the downside. So I don't know, man. At some point, you know, hopefully that relationship does go away, and it's not necessarily negatively correlated, but it just has no correlation. So I would say historically, you would have to expect if this thing moves down, Bitcoin will move down alongside of it. And if this thing moves up, we can't necessarily say the same thing about Bitcoin moving up, unfortunately. So yeah. At some point, I do expect that relationship to have a fully zero correlation, like just not correlate at all. Not to the upside, not to the downside, just does different things. That'd be ideal. But for now, correlated on the downside, not on the upside. So if this thing plays out a downside move, we have to expect that Bitcoin does as well. That's what I'd say about that. So if NASDAQ bottoms, does that also imply Bitcoin has bottomed? I would say this: if NASDAQ bottoms, there is a potential for Bitcoin to bottom. But without NASDAQ bottoming, I would absolutely not expect Bitcoin to bottom. Or really just like any of the traditional market indices for that matter, because they are going to trade like each other to begin with. MG's looking at Tesla, daily, weekly, monthly. Last I looked at it was at 410, which is a pivot for us. Actually closed below there last week, so this one might be coming under pressure here. In fact, I would have to say that it is. I have to treat this one as short-term bearish as long as it's below the pivot at 415. That was our pivot from last week, and it did fail that on Friday. So sticking to the rules here. Yeah, probably looking for this one to come back down like 370 or so. Yeah. Where's my invalidation to know where I'm wrong? If it could just reclaim last Friday's high at 424, I would once again be bullish on it. But until then, you know, rules are rules, man. So I'll be flipping to short-term downside. I wouldn't necessarily short it myself, but I'd just be looking to pick it up a little bit lower if I really wanted to own it. I'll put it that way. Monthly's still not terrible here. Like, I don't want to write this one off, to be honest with you. I still hold a core position myself, but I haven't added anything to that position recently. So yeah, if I am going to add, I would like to add below 400 personally. So yeah, anyways. Ooh, man. Alpha Soldier. Nice. We have an alpha here. Beautiful. Could you look at Solana? Not very alpha to look at Solana, sir. All right. Let's go look at the Alpha Warrior. I am the Alpha Warrior. Sounds like some fucking Andrew Tate would say. Look out, faggot! Yeah. Not good, man. Not good. Made significantly new lows below February lows. You do have some bullish divergence building here, so at least there's that. EOTech has 25% off on their website right now for grads and father. Wait, what? Do you think they'll have an even better one for 4th of July? Hold on, I need to write this down. EOTech sale. I wonder if they, like, I've actually never had an EOTech optic. I never even really seen one in real life or used one in real life, but I hope it lives up to its reputation because those ones are fucking expensive. Anyways, as far as Solana goes, dude, you don't have to trade this shit, you know? The only position to be having on something like this is to the downside. If it rallies this week, I'd be looking for it to get arrested around like 73, 74 bucks. That's a big if. That's a big if that it even gets there. Ultimately, it's going to do whatever the fuck Bitcoin does, right? I mean, it's not really like different, but it's going to be higher beta to the downside and to the upside is probably not going to follow as much. Look, I don't know what time frame is going off, or you are going off of a 4-hour time frame right here. Short term is probably put in a local high, and probably short term it swings back down. I don't think it's going to make new lows in the short term, but maybe it comes back down to like 63.5 or 62.25, somewhere in that pocket there. Probably tries another rally from that region as well. Daily time frame, I think you're done making new lows in the short term. I think that ultimately is just going to be a range play to the downside. Then you get picked back up, try another rally. If the rally gets anywhere around fucking 73, 74 bucks, I'd be hitting the red button pretty hard. And other than that, I'd avoid this thing like the plague. This thing is just absolutely massively fucking disastrously ugly and bearish as long as you're below the May high of 98.5 bucks. That also means if you can reclaim that number, 98.5 on even a daily closing basis, I would flip around to being bullish. But look, this is just no different than any other run-of-the-mill shitcoin at this point. The only difference is that at least it doesn't have like the dead heartbeat chart. So it's actually different than a lot of them, I guess. But it's more like an Ethereum. It's just like, at least it's not completely dead, but it's pretty irrelevant. Yeah, don't like shit like this, but I think it's probably done going to the downside in like the short term for now. Just very, very short term range play to the downside, to be fair, on like the 4-hour. But again, that's not new lows or nothing like that. Oh God, we have Mikhail Student. He's looking at symbol NEAR. Oh dear Lord. We have another shitcoin of the day. Okay, NEAR protocol. Yeah, so compared to Solana, Solana is a fucking major winner compared to this thing. Well, at least it actually kind of rallied in the last month, but still, the long term is just absolutely disastrous here. I assume whatever high that you saw this month in June is going to be the high for probably eternity for this thing. This is just garbage, man. It's total fucking garbage. It's total fucking garbage. You have hidden bullish evidence on the daily, so I do think that this move to the upside can play out a little bit more, maybe like 240 to 250. But this thing is, in my opinion, extremely bearish long term. So I wouldn't be expecting it to get anywhere past like 340 or 350, whatever it is, anytime in the foreseeable future. And even in the short term, probably short term rally followed by rejection below $3, and then you play out your downside moves yet again. Yeah, just terrible. But yeah, if I had to call it, probably rallies up to like 240 or 250. Sika Trace says, I don't care about opportunity cost. Business is undervalued. I buy. Oh man, that is one of the worst mentalities to come at things with. But hey, more power to you, man. That is like literally the antithesis of what you're supposed to do as a long-term investor. But yeah, go for it, man. Hey, look, you can do what the fuck you want to do, man. I'm not your dad. I'll just tell you though. I'll tell you my opinion on that. Sam Fergozzi, what's up, man? Use gold 6 month as an example. Do you have typical levels for high term time frame new candle to hit before continuing with direction? Yeah, like a previous open. Yeah, those are always usually going to be relevant. It's not necessarily that like it has to be hit. It's more so if it gets hit, I expect a response there, rather than this absolutely must get hit, because that doesn't always happen. And some of the best moves, especially on like trending moves, they will not do that. So yeah. But anyways, as far as gold goes, if we go to the 6 month time frame, I'm kind of curious what we'll actually see here in terms of where the open was. Well, the open's pretty much where you're at. So that's a doji already. So it doesn't really help you in this case, I guess. Yeah, man. No, man, I've gotten so much hate from the gold bugs of this channel, but I'm going to call a spade, man. I'm not trying to be an asshole. That's, if you put a gun to my head, that's a fucking top. Scars beat the shit out of optics. I've heard that, but I've also heard it's only cheap optics, and especially with the NRC, the non-reciprocating charging handle versions, that issue's more or less solved, and especially with Generation 3, which just came out, that is also solved as well. But yeah. Shanette says Keel, daily, weekly. Yeah, this has been popping up a lot in recent times, but I still can't remember what it looks like. And oh yeah, it's this one, the one that's kind of similar to INFQ, but this one obviously significantly better because it's at the top side of its range. So hopefully it doesn't reject here like INFQ did. But basically, I still wouldn't call a breakout until you're back above 608 on a weekly closing basis. Until then, this is still more or less a range play. And I do think it will break out given enough time. The problem is, how much time? Daily time frame wants to try an upside move from here. It's got hidden bullish divergence, 1, 2, 3 drives, phantom divergence on caretakers RSI. So I do think you get another run at that 608 level. So look, if it closed above there this week, I would call a breakout, and I would call, a return to previous highs and probably beyond. But until then, I think you test that area. Whenever I see a range high hit, usually I'm going to think that there's going to be a pullback to follow that. So that's what I'd say about that. But it is in a good position. And I do think given enough time, it will make that breakout move. It's like just how much time is necessary. The Greg Doc says BE daily. This is another one that used to pop up a lot. And I think last we looked at it was topping, and yeah, I still think it's kind of topping over here. Very, very short term, maybe one more rally off the 55 at like 240 or 245, whatever it is. But you know, as long as you're below about 305, I would be treating this thing as something that's more likely to move to the downside overall. So it's like, yeah, short term, you probably got a rally attempt. But as long as you're, again, below 305 on a daily closing basis, I would be betting on this thing coming back down closer to like 225-ish, something like that. You know, here's your monthly chart. Like, this is a crazy rally. Again, a lot of the names that have been rallying like in a big way the past year, I think that these things are topping in the next few months, maybe sooner rather than later. And this is no different. This is actually just a good example of one. I think you're finding your top probably this month, maybe latest July. And yeah, short term probably tries a little bit of a rally here, but I think that that's going to be a chance to get out. This looks like distribution to me in a big way. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You'll know because it's back above 305. But until then, I'd be treating this as a likely top. John Dude is looking at BNB, monthly and long term. View, sir, fuck or not? Let's check it out. Is this one fuck or is it not fuck? Will you fuck or not fuck? Yeah, don't particularly like it here. I do think it's got some upside in the short term, probably back up to like 635, 634 region. But I'd be expecting a short-term rejection there in a range to form between that high and then the current range low at 570. Maybe pop back down to that range low. Maybe you know, put in a slightly higher low at like 590 or something like that. That would look good. But this is a pretty easy chart actually. Reclaiming the May high at 740, bullish as fuck, I guess. Yeah, pretty bullish at that point. Expect like $1,000 plus after that. But in the meantime, kind of similar to Bitcoin, I think that you're range bound. And to be fair, it kind of has a better chart on the weekly compared to Bitcoin too. I mean, this is a little bit more of an obvious range forming here. So short-term upside, I'd expect it to get rejected around like 630 to 635, pop back down. Hopefully it sets in a higher low. And if it does, then I would be very cognizant that you actually might have a real reversal impending here. But again, similar to Bitcoin, even if that happens, we're talking months away at this point, or at least a month or two away at this point. Shady says, get an L-can. I've actually looked into that a little bit as well. Those things are fucking expensive too, man. Like, what the hell? It's like $2,000 for a goddamn L-can. I don't even know what the hell it does. Like, is it basically like an LPVO? That's what it seems like to me. I got to do a little more research on that, but yeah. Also, ammo choices. Scar likes 168 to 175 grain projectiles. You'll get much better groups. Yeah, man. You know, I know a lot of people are like always obsessed with like groupings and whatnot. I actually don't care about that much. I'm not shooting for that. I'm shooting just for fun, just like hitting stuff out. Like, I don't care if my groups are like right next to each other. That doesn't mean that much to me. It's like, if I ever had to use these rifles for any defensive purposes to begin with, it's like, do I care that my grouping is 1 inch off? Like, as long as it hits, you know, in center mass, that's good. But yeah, you know, I get it. Like, when it comes to gun nerd stuff, you know, you want it, the tightest groups, the tightest butthole. I get it. Totally fair, totally reasonable. But for me, just not like a selling point really. Let's see, Alloy, A-L-O-Y. Okay. All right. General thoughts. Actually pretty decent here compared to a lot of the other ones in the short and medium term. I do think that this rally extends back up to like 17, 18 bucks. But you know, it's kind of hard to love long term just because it has been down only. And realistically, I wouldn't call any sort of like major reversal confirmation until you're back above $22. So on one hand, yeah, I think you got some upside here in the short term. I wouldn't be bearish on it, especially as long as you're above $12. So pretty easy setup right there. And maybe you do have a real reversal impending here. I mean, you can make the argument that this is a higher low right here. I'd say it's not obvious to me, so I wouldn't treat it as such just yet. But above 22, I'd call a real reversal. Until then, I think you got short-term upside, and I'd just be expecting another rejection. So yeah, un momento. All right. Andrew Plus says, did you do FLNC yet? Yeah, I did. That was like quite some time ago, man. This one, FLNC. Yeah, back up towards the same range high here. I think it's popping back down. Sorry, wait a second. Where did we do this one earlier? I swear this sounds super familiar, but I don't remember making this chart right here. I was going to say pops back up to the range high and then down. I'm inclined to say that you will pop back down to like $19.5 to $20 at some point. But in the very, very short term, do you try one more rally towards 27.5? Maybe. Maybe. This one also has a chance for a real reversal as well. Real reversal would be confirmed with any sort of a closure above last week's high. If you can do that, I would call a real reversal and, you know, just look for this thing to go like 35, 40 bucks. It'd be pretty good if that happens. Steve Briscoe says, RDW, weekly, monthly, better buy than Luna right now. I don't think Luna is a good buy. Like, you're late to the party, man. You missed it. RDW. Yeah, better overall, just more potential here. I do think that there could be one more return towards $15, but that's pretty easy invalidation. So 14.5 is the invalidation for bullishness. I do think you might have some downside in the short term, but as long as you're above about 14.5, $15, I'd treat it as okay. Lunar might be okay as well, but it's just not like that one's already played out a pretty massive move. So I don't look at that one as the obvious one. This one would be, if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose this one. And again, like just telling you what I've done. I've sold most of my Lunar. I'm half retarded, so am I. ZEC, all-time high ready after exploit FUD. I don't know, maybe FUD is just another word for legitimate concern. But yeah, I mean, look at this, man. Big wick to the downside. Eats it up almost instantly. Market doesn't give a fuck. Do I think it's going to go to all-time highs from here? I mean, previously I was bullish on it. And I still kind of have to be bullish on it because my criteria for being bullish has not been invalidated, which is just a weekly closure below 385 or a monthly. But even a weekly does it at this point. So 385 is my line in the sand, man. As long as you're above there on a weekly, I don't have a reason to be bearish on it. Here's your quarterly. It would be really nice and very easy to be bullish on this, like expecting new highs if it does reclaim the Q1 high of 535 by end of June. If it can do that, it's very obviously bullish. And I think that it probably will, but you know, again, that would be the actual trigger for it, despite my stupid opinion. Let's see, what time are we at right now? 11, not bad. I'll do a couple more. Then we shall shut off the game for the day. Now you did walk a flock of flame. Oh yes, similar sounding. Right. Yes, something like that, man. Krown, outside of trading, do you gamble at all? No. If so, any table games you play? Nah, man. I've never gotten into poker. I've never really gotten into sports gambling. There was like a very small period, like maybe 15 years ago, where I did a little bit of sports gambling on like, I think it was DraftKings or something like that. Actually won a couple of times, which was kind of nice. But yeah, man, I respect people who are professional gamblers because it's basically the same thing as being a professional trader or just being a successful trader, not even professional, but just a successful trader. It's just, you're just applying probabilities. And to be fair, in cards, like if you're playing poker, the probabilities are more set in stone than they are with trading. So technically you can have an easier way to make money there, to be fair. But yeah, I never really got into it. Just not my thing. And yeah, just not interested. Yeah. Anyways, and like, I really hate the gambling culture right now. Like I've been watching, no, I haven't been watching, but I heard these interviews with this young lad. His name is Togi, I think it is. And he's like, I don't know, he's like probably 22 or 23. And he's just like a massive fucking gambler. And it's pretty bad example to set, to be honest, man. Just like straight up gambling, you know, like you're going to lose long-term. You are going to lose long-term unless you have a real edge. He doesn't, obviously, as most people don't. Most people just think like you get lucky. But look, if you understand statistics, you know, the more you gamble, the more you lose. And the craziest thing is like people gambling online, playing poker online, because then you don't even have like validation that, you know, the cards are what they are, or that, you know, you're seeing everything that the other person's seeing. Like there's such a fucking incentive to cheat in that. I just think it's disastrous. Anyways, as far as A-Lab goes, weekly and monthly, I think overall pretty good, man. You did sell off on the 1618 Fibonacci extension, but that's to be expected. And already you're kind of bouncing back from that. So I think that you will get up to about 430. would be the next continuation target. And then above there, if things get really crazy, maybe like 512 to 530, but at least 430 is kind of the next big one if it continues. And I'd be bullish on this thing as long as you're above about 295. Until then, I would let it float up. The trend is your friend right here to the upside. Yeah. But again, below that number, I would invalidate those statements. Degenerate gambling is a new hotness. Yeah, it's something like that, man. But I get it. It's exciting. You know, it's super exciting. But I don't know. I feel like just making money more predictably is also exciting. In fact, more exciting. It's actually not that exciting, but it's more fulfilling. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Raj Point says, add Ginomoto. Ticker, please. I'll just type it in. Gino. Oh, it's a Japanese stock. Should have guessed it from the name. That's racial profiling. A lot of bearish divergence developing here on the weekly and monthly. So I do think that you're probably entering into a stopping point. Probably pops back down to like 4,000 and tries for a higher low. Quarterly, not great. That might be a top for a long time even. So very short term on the week. Well, very short term on the weekly. Might try another rally back up to like 5,100 to 5,150, but I think that you're looking at tops here on the monthly, the quarterly, the 6 month. All of these are pretty hot as of the current moment. So I wouldn't be getting greedy at the moment. I would be offloading, taking at least some profits. Again, same thing as what I've been saying before. It's like, look, you got a lot of divergences building up right here. Probably hit a lot of targets because it's been an amazing rally, but you don't have to take all of it off. I probably would be, but I would take significant profits here, man. I think this thing is in the process of topping for some time, man. Or at least coming down to like, 4,000. There's a little bit of hoping that it holds at 4,000, and you should at least get a bounce at 4,000, but or somewhere around 4,000. But I don't know, man. The higher time frame I go, the more and more it looks like it's probably done for a while. Negative EV expectations. Yeah, basically. I mean, if you understand statistics, like they are quite literally stacked against you. If you're not actually like counting cards and whatnot, you will lose over time. You will. You might make money here and there, but yeah, you just lose over time. But you tell that to some people, and it just doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything to them. Like they just think you get lucky, and then that just compounds. And I don't know, man. Some people are set up. Some people's brains are like intrinsically set up to understand statistics, and some people just are not. What differentiates these two? I don't know, but that's just what I've noticed in my life trying to explain this to people. Yeah, some people just love fucking gambling. I mean, it is exciting, so fair enough. Vegas wasn't made on winners. Yeah, of course. And hey, if you do start to win, then you're getting kicked out, man. So yeah. Did you look at Ethereum on the stream? I can look at Ethereum, man, but like, it's Ethereum. You think I'm going to say anything nice about it? Look, whatever Bitcoin's going to do, this thing's going to amplify, but not to the upside, only to the downside. This thing is even worse than Solana, in my opinion, at the moment. And I do think while you might have a rally back up to like 1850 to 1900, I'd be looking for that to arrest the rally. But yeah, in the short term, do you try some upside here? It's certainly possible. Yeah, somewhere around those numbers, but I'd be looking for pushback around those areas, especially. Yeah. Only hope that this thing has is if Bitcoin bottoms. And to be fair, there is, I guess, a little bit of hope here on the quarterly. You do have this price action trend line extension that's kind of around where your current low is. That also means if you even just close below last week's low at 1,500, get ready for the great decline, in which, I mean, at that point, you're probably coming below 1,000 if that happens. But for now, give it a chance to bounce. Everyone deserves a chance, right? But this thing very like this is actually, in fact, one of the most obvious charts for calling a reversal long term. If it can just get back above the May highs, which is also the 200 simple on the weekly. If you can do that, great. It's bullish. Lows are in. All aboard the fucking Vitalik Express. But until then, man, I mean, you have volume increasing on the dumping over here. And I don't even think you have, you technically would have potential for bullish divergence if it bottomed exactly where last week's low is, but any lower than that, that goes out the wayside. So just obviously not one of the stronger charts on its own. This thing does not lead the market. It only follows, and it doesn't even follow in a great way to the upside, and certainly over follows to the downside. It's just a loser long term. We've been saying that now for a long time on this channel, and I don't have a reason to change my opinions on these things until proven otherwise. And when I look at the yearly, this is just bad, man. It's very bad. Very bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does truly fail here. So yeah, man. Anyways, nobody celebrates your win in the casino and only love you when you lose. Well, for the casino employees, of course. Cool. Let's see. I probably need to shut this off soon. We need to go to Club Costco today, baby. It's a big day. It's a big Club Costco day. Nothing like getting rolled out of the casino for winning. Yeah, exactly. People who get hooked on the pokies, slots, puzzles me. They are literally programmed to take. I know. It's okay. So I actually saw this one gambling game online. So it's literally an online game. You literally just press one button, and then a bunch of balls like drop from the top of your screen, and then and then they're like kind of getting shuffled through all these different like ways that they can go. And at the very bottom, there's like, prizes and whatnot. And it blows my fucking mind that someone would actually do that. You have no guarantee that these are even fair. And I'm sure the probability of being like a big winner it's gotta be like less than 1%. So you're just sitting there fucking tapping away, losing money all the goddamn time, man. It's just terrible. Just terrible. I don't have Ethereum, just gave for TA, so I'm curious. Yeah, fair enough, man. There is absolutely one thing that could 1,000,000% destroy Ethereum from a technical perspective, and that is simply just coming below the April 2025 low of 1384. It got pretty close in this dump. So yeah, there's that would confirm ultra mega nasty fucking disastrous bearishness, or if it could reclaim about 2465, extremely bullish. But yeah, I think that's a little bit unlikely from here at the moment. Nah, the machine's just warming up, man. It's gonna pay me. That's exactly right. That's got to be what they're thinking. I'm due, bro. I'm due. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're due after first you got to lose $100,000, then you can win $100,000. I also see it with like fucking Pokemon cards, man. Like this one also gets me too, because Pokemon cards are not even paying you out like real money to begin with. Like my fucking what's it called? My brother-in-law is really obsessed with Pokemon cards. And great, cool. Like if that's how you want to spend your time, that's cool. And look, I get it. It's exciting. It's fun. It's kind of like nostalgic childhood and whatnot. But there are like live streams of dudes on YouTube buying like hundreds of thousands of dollars of packs and then ripping them up on stream. And it just blows my mind, because it's like, you're told that these things are worth something, but there's not a liquid market for them. Like if you want to sell them, you got to find someone to fucking buy it. Just because it says in some stupid ass book that some fucking asshole wrote that it's worth this amount does not mean someone's going to pay that amount. It's crazy. I thought Pokemon was a Jamaican gigolo. I'll have to remember that one. Any updates on any history videos in the near future? Yeah, I'm working on stuff right now, man. It's not at the top of my list at the current moment for a couple of reasons. I'm waiting to, first I need to get a teleprompter, because that's going to make those videos a lot easier. And then second, I've been working on those free courses because I really want to get out a lot of that information, while I'm kind of in this work mode. But yeah, there will be more coming in the future. But for right now, my focus is are on providing like the free courses and whatnot. So yeah, I've almost completed the whole catalog of free courses. We've got TA 101, we've got options 101, we've got long-term investing, we've got AI agent trading, and I'm working on another one. I won't say it just yet, but I think there'll at least be 5, and then maybe there'll be a 6th one. No, I think I can do it with all 5. That'll cover every aspect. Yeah, I think that'll cover every aspect. Anyways, history with Krown. I love history, man. I fucking love history. So don't worry. Like once I get done with all of that, I will be back to recording those historical videos because one, I love history. And then two, like it's actually very fun for me to do the research for them. For those videos, because you learn a lot of stuff. First off, what you really learn, what I've really come to terms with is that history is absolutely a circle. And yeah, there's different, basically humans repeat the same patterns with different technology over time. That's all that it is. And you think like right now in today's day and age, things are new, like all of this is new and we've never seen this before and we've never seen that before. That's all bullshit. We've seen almost all these things before, maybe with like not as good technology, but yeah, it certainly happened before. I mean, shit, man, like people talk about inflation all the time. It's like, dude, this is no different than the past. We've seen this many times. In fact, even historically speaking, we don't even technically have that high of inflation levels compared to what's been really bad in the past. Again, they have been higher, certainly, than recent times. I get this. But when you put into context of things, could be worse. A lot of the political stuff is all fucking circular. I mean, I used to think, even up till recently, that this is like the most divided we've ever been. This is the most aggressive both of the political sides have been towards each other. No, man, look into the 70s and the 60s. It was pretty bad. It was worse, I would say. Probably worse. Actually, I would say it's legitimately worse. Anyways, history doesn't repeat, but it definitely rhymes. Yeah, absolutely. Technology changes it. Or technology changes like how the specifics plays out, but human behavior, it's consistent, man. It's consistent. Rome had inflation. Oh yeah, but I mean that's like a very long time ago. Yeah, a lot of people like to compare, America to Rome and whatnot. And there's some comparisons to make for sure, but I don't want to get into that. It's going down another rabbit hole, and I should be wrapping up this video like soon, like maybe even right now. Pokemon is outperforming crypto. Sure. Sure, man. Look, if you made more money on Pokemon than you have on crypto, well, okay, when you say crypto, like obviously everything besides Bitcoin is basically without value. Yes, there's a few things that have value. Yes, a few things have been phenomenally successful in terms of crypto that aren't Bitcoin, but they're few and far between. It's the exception, not the rule. Absolutely. So it's not really that hard to outperform crypto in general. But yeah, good luck buying your Charizards. Anyways, look at the average lifespan of fiat currencies. Okay. The problem with doing that is you don't differentiate between the fiat currency that's a reserve currency of the world and the fiat currency that is not. Because the ones that are not, they die very quickly, and the ones that are can have some longevity. But anyways, that's kind of irrelevant anyways, because it seems to me the plan in the US, as far as I can tell, reading between the lines and just getting the information, at source, is that the US actually, they don't want to get rid of fiat currencies, but the Trump administration seems to want to recapitalize the US dollar on like USDC as the reserve. It's kind of crazy. But that's what it seems like to me, or at least that would be the logical path that all of this clarity stuff is encompassing. We'll see if it works or not. I applaud the administration because they realize that there is a problem and you do need to do something, and doing the same thing as we've done before, which is what the left side was going to do, is untenable and absolutely will fail. So you got to try something. Is what the Trump administration is going to do, is it going to work? I don't fucking know. It's a low probability, to be fair. It's hard, but someone's got to have the balls to fucking, try something new. Otherwise, you're just in a managed decline. And, well, ask England how that goes, because it doesn't seem to be going all that well. Anyways, okay. I think that is what we're going to do for today. I shall be signing off on that note. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of the best. We'll be back on tomorrow with just another regular video analysis. Again, if you're just joining in right now, we have the new long-term investing free course available. It is the pinned message on the chats right now. And then also, if you're looking for trading capital or a simulated environment to trade, fake trading capital, but you do get actually paid out with real money, you can do that through this Bitfunded account over here. Anyways, all that's in the link description below. I'll leave it right there. We'll continue on tomorrow and in the future, live streams as usual, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at the same time, same place. Until then, take care. Much love.